Described as desperate with little food or water or essentials for the soldiers and civilians who have been holed up in that steel plant in the city for days. ABC's James Longman with the latest from Kyiv.
President Zelensky says that without the necessary arms, they'll be unable to break the Russian siege. But he offered an exchange for those trapped in Mariupol, saying we are open to different formats of exchange for our people, for Russian military that they've left behind.
Vladimir Putin saying today he doesn't want his troops to attack that plant in Mariupol. Instead, he wants to block anything from getting in or out. The Department of Justice appealing that federal judge's ruling striking down the mask mandate on public transportation.
So now Americans wait as this legal fight could take weeks. It could take months. Experts believe this will likely make its way all the way to the Supreme Court. But here's the catch. This is hardly a slam dunk for this administration. The Supreme Court has been skeptical of federal powers related to this pandemic.
ABC's Cecilia Vega, the advice for now from public health experts: keep the masks on while you travel, even though it's optional. Florida moving to strip the Walt Disney Company, parent of ABC News, of the ability to govern itself within theme parks over the Don't Say Gay bill.
Under a 1967 agreement, Disney is allowed to collect taxes and provide emergency services. When Disney spoke out against the so-called Parental Rights in Education bill, Republican State Senator Randy Fine says it was kicking the hornet's nest.
When the hornet's nest got kicked, we realized that there were 133 special districts that were created before the Florida Constitution was passed in 1968.
Including the one covering Disney's parks. Democrats in the Florida State House say Disney, the parent to ABC News, is the target of retaliation for its stance. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
An arrest has been made in the case of that Queens, New York mom whose body was found in a duffel bag last weekend. You're listening to ABC News.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. That's 800-401-6681.
More testimony in the defamation lawsuit brought by actor Johnny Depp against his ex, Amber Heard. In a 2018 article, she said she had been the victim of domestic abuse. But on the stand, Johnny Depp denied that and said this week it's making allegations of his own.
Among his allegations, that Heard hit him, severed part of his middle finger, and soiled his side of the bed after he asked for a divorce. Heard denied injuring Depp with a bottle and says the dogs made that mess in the bed. She's currently countersuing Depp for $100 million.
ABC's Andrew Dimbert. Heard is expected on the stand before today or tomorrow. More fighting in the Middle East. Rockets from the Gaza Strip landing in Israel. The Israeli military responding with attacks into the territory. So far, no reports of any injuries. And a YouTube stunt is costing a pilot his license.
In a letter obtained by ABC News sent to YouTuber Trevor Jacob, the FAA lays out why it has found he intentionally crashed his plane on camera for views. In the video, he seems panicked as the engine stops and he jumps out with a parachute on. The FAA revoking his pilot's license, saying it found he purposely crashed the plane beforehand, attaching numerous cameras to it, putting on a parachute, that he opened the door before he claimed the engine failed, that he made no attempt to restart the engine or to look for a safe place to land, and he used his selfie stick to record the entire thing as he bailed out. Alex Stone, ABC News.
This is ABC News.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs
and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Your forecast for the day ahead involves a partly cloudy to mostly cloudy sky at times. A beautiful afternoon, though milder as well, with highs today in the lower to mid-70s. For tonight, we'll see a mostly clear sky and start in the lower 50s Friday morning. Mostly sunny sky and warmer Friday afternoon. We'll see highs in the upper 70s and lower 80s, and 80s are likely with sunshine for the weekend. I'm meteorologist Zach Malak in the Weather Center.
Cloudy skies and 54 degrees is where we are right now on this Thursday morning, and we're going to be pretty much the same way. We are warming up to about 74 for a daytime high today, but still may be some cloudy conditions. We may see a little bit of sun today. It's 9:05. This is WCAB Rutherfordton, serving the foothills of the Carolinas.
It's time now for My Great America with Jim and Butch, a conversation about positive things about this great country. And now here are Jim and Butch.
Well, good morning, Butch. How are you doing today?
Jim, I am doing well. I'm really getting the commuting experience. I'm literally calling in, sitting on a wooden bench at the Lancaster, Pennsylvania train station, and at 9:31 this morning, a train will pick me up and other commuters that are headed in to stops along the way. I'll ultimately go to the 30th Street station. I'll get a Uber over to the Philadelphia airport and then fly to Charlotte, and from Charlotte to Greenville, Spartanburg, and then get in, God willing, at about 5:45 today. So that's how the day has started.
Frequent flyer.
Well, you know what? Not the way I used to be. And you know what? I'm grateful that my trips these days, it says that we're to let our days be ordered of the Lord. And I knew I was to come up here and just try to help my mom a little bit. She's making great adjustments. She's had a couple of health issues to deal with post-COVID. And, it's always good to be an encouragement to our parents. We take literally, I know you do and did, the biblical injunction that we're to honor our parents so that our days will be long. And it's a joy to help our parents out, especially in the last seasons of their life.
Sure.
I know you feel the same way.
Absolutely. I wish my parents were still around so I could help them.
Yes. Well, it's interesting, Jim, because we love history, don't we?
Yes.
And I was sitting here earlier this morning, and I was saying, I wonder what the history is of this Lancaster, Pennsylvania train station. So within earshot of a couple of gentlemen that have got bright orange jackets on, they're working on the track, it seems, pulling up some of the different pilings there. But I did a little research, and here's what I learned. The Lancaster Station here was built by the Pennsylvania Railroad. It opened in 1929 in the northern section of the city, about a mile from downtown. It's constructed of red brick. It's got a classical revival building. It's beautiful. Features a center block flanked by recessed wings. And then the center block includes the main entrance at the ground level. That's covered by a glass and metal marquee that protects the passengers from inclement weather. It was very cool here this morning, by the way. And on the second level, you've got concrete columns, you've got 3 tall rounded windows, and you've got a parapet, and that showcases a clock. Now, what's so interesting is inside the main waiting room, you've got these high ceilings and this hanging Art Deco set of light fixtures, and there's a skylight, Jim, that allows all this natural light to flood the space. There are antique wooden benches. They line the lobby, and a staircase leads down to where the passenger platform level is. That's where I am right now. And what's so interesting is in recognition of its contributions to the city's development and its historic fabric, the station is listed as a contributing resource to the Lancaster City National Register. Now, what is beautiful is that inside the station, Jim, you have got these refurbished dozen wooden benches, all of the original luster there, and Lancaster-based Brent Miller Jewelries generously donated 6 new vintage-style clocks for installation on the platforms, the pedestrian concourse, and at the station entrance. The gift was made in memory of the company's founder and namesake, who often rode the train on business trips between Lancaster and New York. So I love little bits of history like that, and I actually sent you a picture this morning of one of the clocks.
That's interesting. I love those kind of stories too. Never having been there, it gives me some insight into what that area looks like, because that area is historically significant over the history of our country. So I love to hear those stories.
It really is. And you know what, Jim? The other thing that I've mentioned before is that they have a little publication here. It sure feels small town friendly to me, called The Fish Wrapper. I may have mentioned this to you before. It's a publication that literally has a big fish coming out of the water, and it's called The Fish Wrapper. And I thought, this is interesting. I picked it up, and here's what they say on the inside of this 16-page publication. Welcome to The Fish Wrapper. The staff of The Fish Wrapper would like to welcome you to this most exciting little big paper that has become a favorite of young and old alike. This is a bi-weekly newspaper, and our objective is to bring positive news, inspirational articles, and information everyone can use. We hope that you will find it refreshing, thought-provoking, and motivating as you face the sometimes overwhelming challenges of today's world. It sounds like a My Great America piece.
It does.
We welcome your comments and input as we strive to bring you good reading material. People ask where we got our name. The Fish Wrapper gets its name from a practice done long ago. At one time, folks wrapped their fish in newspaper. This term caught on and became a slant at the newspaper itself. When one disagreed with an article, the standard comment was, "Yeah, I saw that in the fish wrapper," indicating that was all the paper was good for. We don't expect everyone to agree 100% with the fish wrapper, but we feel certain you'll find something beneficial if you find a little encouragement, an inspiring thought, a little humor, or just some common sense by reading this paper, then our purpose has been achieved. We encourage you to support the local merchants whose advertising pays the cost of this publication. Let them know you saw the ad in the fish wrapper. So, Jim, I picked up, after I had my devotions this morning, picked up the most recent edition of Little Mountain Printing. And here are some, may I tell you just some of the articles that they've got in here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So on the inside front, household hints, saving on groceries. It's got the 9 ways you can save on your grocery bill. Then from the editor's desk, there's a headline, "What if I were a truck driver?" And he goes into 11 things that he would do if he was a truck driver. Then there's a spring bag sale, April 9th, over at Second Chance, a consignment place. Katie, I guess, is famous for her recipes, and she's got her baked macaroni and cheese recipe. There's a firm announcing that they're going to start doing chiropractic at home, and that they're the most friendly chiropractors in the region. Of course, we've got Zook's homemade chicken pies, specializing in Mennonite versions of beef and chicken pies. Jim, you'll like this. The Hammer Creek Mennonite Church is inviting the entire community to a community hymn sing. There's also multiple places that are asking for people to sell their wood. Here's one that's called Timber Stofus Forest Products in Peach Bottom, Pennsylvania. Harvest a personal payday from your woodlot. We pay premium prices on 20-plus acres of white oak or walnut. And it just keeps going on and on. Here just a couple more quick ones. Here's Heralds of Hope, a local radio program. In his sovereign wisdom, he arranges the situations of life that teach us to experience true joy. I've observed those who greatly suffered. If you want to know how God teaches us to deal with suffering, here's a number that you can call. And then they have little quips throughout this as around the home stretch. Here's one. Carelessness with the truth is also a form of lying.
Well, you've said that many times here on this program.
Yes. Yes, and here's another good one. Rooting out old errors is often more difficult than grasping new truths. You know, just lots of encouraging things. You know, I love knowing that we've got little newspapers and little communities. Here's one final one, okay? Thoughts to ponder. Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. And then finally, March is the month when money stops talking and takes off for Washington, D.C.
I like
so
that. Would you bring me a copy of that?
I am going to bring you a copy of the Fish Wrapper. And you know what, Jim? I just feel like that some of the readers, if they knew that we were
online would love to listen to My Great America with Jim and Butch. You know, we keep wanting to bring positive, biblical, and godly perspective to a world that just increasingly seems like it's gone crazy, right?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
What was on your mind this morning? What were you touching on? What were the big stories?
Well, I was pretty busy this morning. I just finished an interview during the 8:30 hour with Sheriff Candidate Theo. Had that going this morning, and there's not much local news. Sheriff was on with his, and it was relatively short as well, so there's not a whole lot going on around the area. So it's kind of quiet. I like quiet times, but I'm afraid with the moon waning like it is, we may have some breakout times here in the next couple of days.
Right. Well, you know, one thing that I was really strong on my heart this morning is, you know, you can just consume so much news in so many different places, and in the midst of all of it, it's not encouraging unless you stay anchored in truth that's unshakable. And this morning, Jim, I was reminded of Proverbs, wonderful verse in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. We talk about this principle often in my church. And here's what it says. It says, trust in and rely confidently on the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insight or understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge and recognize him, and he will make your paths straight and smooth, removing obstacles that block your way. And, you know, we're conscious because you and I often have conversations with the WCAB team there in the little sitting area. We're conscious of just a lot of the burdens that people carry, health issues, financial issues, relationship issues. And God has promised us in the midst of all of it not to let our hearts grow troubled, but to remain anchored in the fact that he loves us, he cares for us, he's provided a plan for us to see redemption, you know, by being born again and believing and receiving and trusting and obeying, and somehow all the noise and the clutter of the daily headlines, you know, wars and rumors of wars and just all of the things that, you know, Scripture says that men's heart will fail them for fear. But we don't have to have fear if we're anchoring our hope in the only one who is the hope maker, and that's Jesus. So I was reminded of that again today, and, you know, being on the train and then being in an Uber and being on an airplane, in the midst of all of that, I'm conscious that I'm surrounded by people that need hope, and we're called to be hope makers and peacemakers in the world that we're in.
I'm glad you can bring out that optimism about what the Scriptures say and what the Lord has said about that, because we are so overwrought with fear makers, people who are trying to make us fear about everything going on. Everything we do, it causes us to be afraid and wonder what's going to happen to me next. And a lot of people are walking around with heavy burdens on their shoulder because they're afraid about tomorrow. They're afraid what's going to take place. But I don't think we should impose those kind of fears on our children and grandchildren and our family members.
No, and we know from Scripture that fear is a spirit, and it tells us in the epistles that God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of love and power and a sound mind. And so, in the midst of the clamor of the marketplace, wanting to so often lather people up, Jim, you know, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, our broadcast media, our print media, certainly a lot of the doom scrolling that happens with people that can't figure out why they can't get enough of all this negative news. Now, we're called to be informed, but when we make a heavy digest of all this negative stuff, we need to remember that one of the references to Satan is as the prince of the power of the air. And we need to recognize that so much of what happens in broadcasting, you know, digital, print, broadcast media, it is not driven by hope. It's certainly not driven by biblical principles. And at the end of the day, what we end up having is just this steady, toxic diet that is causing tremendous damage, which is one of the reasons why we've got to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. And you and I often talk about that. That's why that song is so precious to us. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, because the things of earth will grow strangely dim. And this earth is not our home anyway.
And there's so much truth to that one line, turn your eyes upon Jesus, and the things of this world will grow strangely dim, because the light that he shines upon us is much brighter than the darkness that we have to encounter every day.
That's so true. Now, Jim, this may be the first time that I've done this before on My Great America. I've got to make my way over to my suitcases and stand in line to get ready for the train that's going to come. And I'm going to have to say my goodbyes here, but sure look forward to being back tonight and seeing you there at WCAB on Tuesday.
Well, I hope you have a safe trip, safe journey, and the train is on time. Is it on time today?
I believe so. These things, as they say, are like clockwork. And, a lot of folks, it's so interesting. They actually commute. They'll live out here and commute into the city. And, what's interesting is when I got my ticket, I was reminded again, Jim, it now has something that it didn't have too many years ago. You know what it says?
What's that?
Senior citizen discount.
Oh, my.
Senior citizen discount. There's something about seeing it, in black and white.
Well, I guess that speaks volumes, I guess, to you, huh?
Well, it speaks volumes, but it just means that I'm now in a fraternity that you've been in for a few years longer. A few years longer.
Well, let's call them years of wisdom, we hope.
Yes. Well, and you know what? One of the great things, too, is being able to grow in faith and grace with people that share the same convictions, Jim, that I know you do. So you be blessed the rest of the day, and I look forward to letting you know I got in fine this evening.
Thanks, Butch. Be careful and be safe, and I'll see you when you get back.
All right. Blessings.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's Butch Mulvey on the road doing My Great America from Pennsylvania, as he has done so well so many times. It's a little shorter than usual. But we do want to remind you that many of these programs that we're doing, My Great America with Jim and Butch, are being cataloged now online. There is a special page for that, Facebook page, and you can go to that and pick up former program that we did a year ago or a half a year ago or the last 2 months or whatever the case you're looking for. Go back and look for that. And also, on our YouTube as well. We record these on our YouTube, www.wcab59.com. And you go back and pick this hour. Now, when you go to our particular website, you'll see the first hour, 7, 8 o'clock hour is also there. So if you want to hear My Great America with Jim and Butch, just stream past the interviews. The interview there was with the sheriff candidate, and then move over to the 9 o'clock hour, and you'll find the program today. We try to keep those cataloged, and you can go to those and like the My Great America with Jim and Butch page, and click on that and let us know that you're watching it and hear from it. And we would love to hear from you. If you have those particular topics of discussion or topics of history you'd like us to look at and address on this, just let us know. You can send that directly to me at jimbishop@nctv.com or send it to our website page, WCAB. And we'll look at that and consider doing that, because we want it to be a part of what you're doing and part of your life, not to drag down any issue particularly, but maybe to lift you up and lift your thoughts up, because this program pulls away from the negativity of the national news we have to cover and the local news we have to cover. And we'll come back into this section of My Great America with Jim and Butch and look at some of those gems, some of those nuggets that are so good and so strong about our America and our state and our county. Now, our county is one of those gems and one of those nuggets that if folks would just think about it, look about it, get out and talk to folks from a positive direction, you see that Rutherford County is on the verge of really moving forward with a lot of things. A lot of new businesses coming here. We just recently, of course, we've been announcing for some while now the Chick-fil-A. Now we're getting ready to have an opening there for Cookout. It's just about ready. They're hiring people now. Got a Hobby Lobby coming over in Spindale area there as well. And some other places that you'll be pleased to know that they're coming. Some of them too early to announce, but those are the kind of positive things we like to headline and show forth on My Great America with Jim and Butch. Now, those folks who say, well, nothing happens here in Rutherford County, it's just sort of dead, is incorrect. It is incorrect for sure. And those folks say there's nothing to do here in Rutherford, that is incorrect as well. There are many things, depending on what your interests are, but there are many things right here that we can go to and do, and there are many job opportunities. Now, it may not be a job on an executive level. We don't always have to start on the executive scale. We have to start sometimes on a ground level to work ourselves up. I've told folks many times who say, I don't want to flip hamburgers. Well, the folks who own these fast food places, most of them started in the kitchen, flipping burgers or shaking shakes, and they work their way up into become a manager, regional manager, and some of it even go into buying those franchises. So it's that kind of place that you can do that if the attitude is right, the heart is right, and we erase all those negative things. Of course, we have to have negativity to help spur us on. And I've mentioned this on this program on several occasions, and with Butch and I've talking, and I think it deserves repeating, because it's absolutely true. Peter Marshall, who was a chaplain in the U.S. Senate many years ago, his wife was Catherine Marshall, who has written a book called A Man Called Peter. If you ever get a hold of that book, and it reads about the life of Peter Marshall and her life, and it talks about many things that they did, and in a world of negativity, in a world of things that were not going well. But Peter Marshall was a chaplain to the Senate. And he wrote many prayers, but one of the prayers he wrote that's always stuck with me is this. Very simple. It's not all of the prayer, but it's part of it. It says, Lord, help me treat everybody I meet as though their heart were breaking, because it probably is. Because there are those folks going through many, many things out there that we certainly know that things are tough, and we wanted to make sure